Yeah, play the bass there. Yeah, I guess you can give me the guitar. We're ready?
Would you be having the presentation?
I'm going to do the presentation first. Normally I do the kirtan first, but the kirtan is going to be more lively, and then wait till everybody comes. We'll do a presentation, speak a little bit. I'll probably chant Jai Radhamadava first. Okay, so we're going to get started. So, the order of my presentation, at least tonight, will be as follows. Originally, I thought about doing the kirtan first, Nitai Padakamala, with the guitar. But I'm going to do that at the end when everybody's here. So that's all right with everybody. And then we'll just chant Jai Radhamadava. I have a little presentation about Lord Nityananda based upon the song by Narottam Das Thakur, Nitai Padakamala Koti Chandra Shushital. And then we'll speak a few words about Lord Nityananda's pastimes, and then we'll have the kirtan, if that's all right with everybody. Because the kirtan, we definitely should have everybody here, especially if I'm going to play the guitar and start jumping around. Because Dina Hina Yatachilo Harinam Mudurilo, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, then everybody gets liberated. Tara Shakshay, Jagai Mada, even Jagai and Madai. Of course, I've experienced people much worse than Jagai and Madai. But I'm not capable of liberating them. That's why I mean, I could tell you that. And Prabhupada definitely experienced people in the Bowery of New York worse than Jagai and Madai. Jagai and Madai would be considered great saints and have their own church in America. You know, it's actually amazing in comparison. And Yamaraj would have a heart attack trying to keep up with the people in this world, especially in America. Okay, so anyway, we are going to chant Jai Radhamadava, but at the end we're going to have Nitai Padakamala. And this presentation is based on Nitai Padakamala. Jaya Radhamadava Kunja Vilari Madhuva Kunjabi Pati Nopijana Palava Giribadu Khalti Gopi Jana Palava Giri Badadhari Gopi Jana Palava Giri Badadhari Yasudanandana Raja Janaranjana Sudanandana Raja Janaranjana Yamuna Tera Panachari Jaya Ram Madhuva Kunyari Bhavane Jaya Radhu Madhuva Kunyari Bhavane Gopi Jana Palanuka Niri Varatagi Gopi Jana Pallava Niri Varatagi Sudanandana Rajajana Ranjana Sudanandana Rajajana Unatera Panachate Yamuna Tera Panachate Jayaradhu Madhuva Kunyari Bhavane Jayaradhu Madhuva Kunyari Bhavane Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parvakacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Sabaya Chalanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Marshila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Syamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya. Utale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pacharni Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatcha Dejatarane. So Omagana Tividanda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this presentation is based upon that song by Narottama Das Thakur Sri Nityananda Nishta. Now Nishta means being fixed. That's interesting. Or having faith, or faith or shraddha. But this is fixed, like it's a stage of devotional service that comes after anartha nivritti, right? Anartha nivritti means to get rid of lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, fear. Wow, that's a hard one. So, anyway, when one is fixed at the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, then one can actually obtain the mercy of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. So let's talk about this nice poem. Hold on a second. Whoops. There we go. And so these are the words, and we're going to hear Prabhupada chant these words in a second. At the end of the class, I'm going to chant too. Nitai pada kamalam koti chandra shushita ye chayai jagat churai heno nitai vine bhai. Radha Krishna poite nai drita kori daro nitai se sampanda nahi jar. Rita janma kelutar se pashu paro durachar. Nite na bolila muke majulo samsara suke vijakule ki korve ta. Aung kare mata hoya nitai pada pasiriya. Asachare sachakori mani. Nitai era koro no hoive. Bhaje Radha Krishna hoive. Daro nitai charana dukani. Nitai er charana sacha tahara sivaka nitya. Nitai pada sada koro asha. Narotama boro duki. Nitai more koro suki. Rakoranga chara dera pasha. So, who is Lord Nityananda? Lord Nityananda, of course, Balaram Hoila Nitai. So who is Balaram? Balaram is the original spiritual master from whom all other spiritual, bona fide spiritual masters come. And it's described, Naimatma Bala Hinina Labwa, that nobody can get the mercy of Krishna without getting the mercy of Balaram. And that Balaram has appeared as Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda manifests himself in our lives as our spiritual master, particularly His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who Lord Nityananda predicted approximately 500 years ago. He predicted that there would be a Senapati appearing. Senapati means what? Conquering general, a conquering soldier, who would go all over the world and carry out the same mission that Lord Chaitanya had given to Lord Nityananda and Bodhidas Thakur. And what was that mission? Trying to get everybody to chant the holy names. And like we see in the case of Jagai and Madai, when they heard the holy names, that was their initial purification. Previously, they were chasing after Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur. But after a while, they set up their drunken, whatever it is, orgy, right next to Srivas Thakur's house, or near Srivas Thakur's house. So they were hearing the kirtan, not only hearing the kirtan, but in their drunken stupor. For those of you who don't know what stupor means, it's similar to the word stupid. Because that once people drink, they become stupid, in the mode of ignorance. In their drunken stupor, they were imitating the chanting. And devotees see that sometimes when they go out with the Harinam, and they go out sometimes in places that are not the nicest places in the world. Like we used to have Harinam in the French Quarter of New Orleans, which is probably the most degraded place in America, maybe not on earth. And the drunkards would copy. And so those drunkards, eventually they'll become bhaktas. So Jagai and Madai became bhaktas because they heard the holy names, Namabhas chanting, imitating the chanting. So as far as who Lord Nityananda is, we described he's expansion of Krishna, expansion of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. In the mood of Srimati Radharani, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahiyanya. And more expansions from Lord Nityananda and Balaram are the various other avatars or personalities who do different things like described here. Sankarshan, Sheshanag, there's the Mahavishnu, the Sheshanag, which is the bed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Vishnus who lie in the Karna ocean, that's of course Mahavishnu, Garbo, Dakshay Vishnu, they are Lord Nityananda's, of course Shiva Dakshay Vishnu too, are Lord Nityananda's plenary portions and portions of his plenary portions. What does that mean? That means there's only one God. We are not polytheists following the Vedic literatures. No. There are not many gods, but there are many different, Hare Krishna, There are many different manifestations or appearances of God in different circumstances. Like all of us, we have different relationships in different circumstances. Of course, the difference is that we cannot do or enact all these relationships simultaneously. That's impossible. I am here, I'm in my sannyas space, and when I go to Fiji, I put on my swimming suit beige. Swimming suit? I go swimming. So it's a different personality. And sometimes I even ride the waves. At least I did when I was young. So these are different aspects of the same person. That's what I'm mentioning. That's why I'm mentioning these things. The same way, Krishna has different aspects that he displays simultaneously in unlimited places. You know, of course, that's the Brahma Samhita verse, Advaita, Chuta, Anadi, Radanta, Rupa, Madhyam, Purana, Purusham, Navayovanam Cha, Vedeshu Durlabam, Adurlabam, Atmabhakto, Govindamani Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami. I'm just going to make sure I one thing, okay. I just want to make sure I quieted everybody on the internet. Yeah, they're all quiet, because sometimes people talk. So anyway, so that's who Lord Nityananda is. Of course, then there's Krishna, or Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and in the same way you have the Chaturvyuha expansions that expand from that original Chaturvyuha. And that's why it's called portions of plenary portions. This Prabhupada. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight of millions of moons. Quite poetic. This is Prabhupada chanting. The whole world is suffering under this blazing fire of material existence. Of course, in the first verse of the Guru Vashtaka, which we chant every day, isn't it? That the spiritual master rains down the mercy to extinguish the blazing fire of material existence. What is that blazing fire? The blazing fire are the threefold miseries, Adhyatmik, Adhibodhic, and Adhidaivik. And even though one may not be experiencing those particular miseries right now, eventually they come with time. In fact, living in this world is like living on a roller coaster. Sometimes you're going up and you think this is so nice, and sometimes you go down and your stomach is left at the top of the hill. I remember one time I went on a roller coaster, one time, and that was the last time. Not as a devotee, believe me. I said, never again. Never again. I thought it was fun going up, but the drop was not. It was precipitous. So that's the material world. So we need to put out this blazing fire. And here's the solution. Taking shelter under the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. What does that mean exactly? Of course, we can say, you can take it literally. You should just take the deities there and put the deities on your head. Don't do it right now. Or you can touch the feet of the deities. But let's take this in a, not quite figurative way, but in a poetic way. It means actually taking shelter of Krishna's internal potency. Daivam prakritim ashrita. Vajanjananya manasho yatva utadam avyam. Mahatmanas tumam partha daivam prakritim ashrita. By engaging in bhajan, the chanting and the hearing and dancing and having a good time. In Kali Yuga, basically all that's required is that you have a good time in spiritual life. And you give up a few little things, nothing big. You know, don't eat meat, That's easy, isn't it? No? You agree? I hope so. You're initiated. So, intoxication, illicit sex, gambling, I mean, these things just drag down the consciousness. And then just the rest of your life, just hear and chant and dance and manage a temple and get a headache. It's an inside joke. It's an austerity. Actually, it's an austerity, or like myself, have to deal with disciples who are, let's say, have not yet translated the word discipline into English. So, anyway. And Prabhupada explains this Krishna consciousness movement is for approaching Radha and Krishna. Of course, Radha and Krishna, this is very interesting. I think I need to describe this because some people here may not be familiar with Radha and Krishna. So, in the Krishna consciousness movement, we believe the absolute truth has a female aspect as well as a male aspect. Otherwise, the absolute truth would not be complete. So Radha is the female aspect, and when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, or we say Radha and Krishna, notice two got the first mention, Radharani. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare refers to Radharani in the vocative case, which means crying out. Oh, like you cry out if you're in danger, right? Like Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishme Bhavam Buddho Kripya Tava Palu Kaja Stita Dule Sadrasham Pachitya. Oh, son of Nanda Maharaj, I'm your eternal servant, but somehow or other I've fallen into this horrible ocean of birth and death. Please fix me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Help! So that's, Hari means help. Radharani. So we're asking Radharani for her help, and the supreme absolute truth is Radha and Krishna, and they engage in transcendental dances, not like ordinary ballroom dances. Of course, they don't do ballroom dances anymore, I don't think. But like Prabhupada talked about that. Or ordinary disco dances, is that more appropriate? Or maybe that's not even up to the time. Anyway, I'm not familiar, a member of the 70s generation. Anyway, so it is sublime pleasure dance. That is the aim of Krishna consciousness, to dance forever. In the spiritual world, all walking is choreographed. There's nobody who is a little spastic there. It's all just very beautiful. Like you've ever gone to some show. When I was young, I would go to Broadway to see some of these shows, like the Rockettes or something. And everything was choreographed so nicely. And they spent how long practicing this choreography? But in the spiritual world, everything's just choreographed. All walking is dancing. It's just beautiful. Everything's done in tune. All speaking is singing. Isn't it amazing? Like people like to go to a concert, right? Like I've been reading recently. I don't go to concerts, but I've been reading recently when they have these concerts. Some famous person. There's this company called Ticketmaster. And they become overwhelmed with people, and they're scalpers. You know what a scalper is? Like that. So imagine your whole life is chanting and dancing with the best stars. Think about the best musician that you know. Of course, the best one I know is Prabhupada. Anyway, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And then you just multiply that infinite number of times, and then you get to be in that concert forever. And you don't have to apply a Ticketmaster. You just chant and dance. It's such a nice thing. So that is the goal, to be immerse in that pleasure dance, then again, if you actually want to enter that dance, the dancing party of Radha and Krishna, then you must take shelter of the lotus feet of Nityananda. That's must is an imperative. You have to take shelter. And it's very easy. You take shelter by dancing and chanting. The sadhana is the same as the sajja. These are two words, and I'll explain what that means. Sadhana means the process. Like we have sadhana bhakti. What is sadhana bhakti? The nava bhakti, hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. So, what do you do when you achieve perfection? The sajja. You do the same thing. It's amazing. So I know that whatever happens to me, I'm going to be doing the same thing wherever I go. Therefore, a devotee is thinking, Narayana Paraksarve Nakutaschina Vidyati Swarga Apavarga Nadakeshu Apitulyartha Darshana. That a devotee doesn't care, cares, but he sees all these different locales the same, heaven, hell, and back to Godhead. Pretty good, isn't it? Because if he goes to hell, he's not going there to suffer, he's going there to help people. And if he's going to heaven, he goes to help people, and if he goes back to Godhead, he's going to have a good time in the spiritual world. So, he sees them all the same. That's why sometimes when I get approached by people of a different religion, not different religion, but a misunderstanding about what religion is, because all religions are the same, then they tell me I'm going to hell. And I said, that's great. They said, aren't you afraid? I said, no. A lot of people, be able to bring them to Krishna consciousness pretty easy because half of my work is done for me. They've already been convinced about the threefold miseries. There's fourfold miseries. Yamaraj, Adhyatmik, Adhibodhik, and Adhidaiva. So we take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, and the sadhana and the sajja are exactly the same. So every one of us, this is our nature. We are living entities who are active by nature, and we're looking for happiness. And unfortunately, wherever we look, even when we get the happiness, it appears to be temporary and limited. We want unlimited happiness instead of limited happiness. Now, I've experienced when people go for something that they think is going to give them happiness, they get it for some time. Of course, the Bhagavad Gita describes that as the happiness in the mode of passion. In the beginning, it's like nectar. In the end, what is it like?
Poison.
Bitter. It leaves an aftertaste. So, just like many years ago, I used to distribute Prabhupada's books, and we would go to movie theaters, not inside the theater, outside the theater. And we could only distribute books to people who were going in. Because when they were going out, it was dangerous. Because they were upset, they had spent their money. And we tried the same thing with Disneyland, Disney World too. And that was even more dangerous. Of course, eventually we got stopped by Mickey Mouse, who was carrying the gun. But we experience when people have this expectation, the unrealistic expectation of this world. Oh, I got a lot to look forward to when I get this new car, get this new boyfriend, a girlfriend, a dog, a cat, what else? A new house. Then you got to pay the mortgage. But anyway, or Christmas, that's a typical example. That we open up the presents at Christmas time or whatever time you have presents, you open them up, and wow, look what I got. And then 2 hours later, you're fighting. So we want nitya, eternal. Ananda means pleasure, so that's nitya ananda. Nitya, eternal. Ananda means unlimited pleasure or eternal pleasure. one who has not been able to contact Nityananda simply spoils the valuable human life, because one then has only material pleasure, which, as I mentioned before, flickering, chapala, sukha. And there's also this other point connected with chapala sukha, which is called bhoga tyaga. Bhoga tyaga means to enjoy something, you have to stop enjoying it for some time. To enjoy eating, you have to be hungry, right? If you're not hungry, eating is not so pleasant. Actually, it's not nice at all. So, bhoga tyaga, chapala sukha, flickering and temporary, that is not pleasure. I like the pictures here. Person without spiritual eternal happiness, Nityananda, has only the same happiness available to animals. Of course, that kid is not an animal, but anyway, sorry for that offense. So, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But there's no difference. Actually, before I came to Krishna consciousness, I realized that. I was in the university, and for my music class, I had to write a song and do a multimedia presentation. At that time, multimedia was slides. I don't know if any of you know what a slide is. It's like anyway, it's a transparent piece of film that you shine a light through, and you project it on a screen. That's a slide. So what I did, I wrote this whole nice song called, I don't know if I should recite it, but anyways, you poor little animals locked up in cages. And as a multimedia presentation, I juxtaposed pictures of people doing things like this here. And then I went to the zoo and took a whole bunch of pictures and juxtaposed it. And I got an A in that course. And so you see, that was the truth I had realized even before coming in contact with Krishna. So it's logical. Krishna consciousness is logical. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Without saying the holy name of Nityananda, there's only false material happiness. And here depicted exactly the same example I gave before. The little kids opening up their presents, material happiness, sense gratification. I'm bored. This present looks good. I'm tired of this stuff. I wish I had that stuff. Gimme, gimme, gimme. No, it's mine. I want yours. Of course, we're not against education. So, nothing wrong with education. It's not that we're decrying education, but it can be used for the right purpose. If one thinks that's the goal, then one is misled. Because whatever you learn, whatever you acquire, if it's not used for a spiritual purpose, it's eventually lost through the time factor. As Krishna says in Gita, Kalo Asmi, and also Richu Saraha Raschaha, that I am time. And so if we can use our education, use whatever we have in spiritual activities, that's not lost at all at any time. Swapavapyasha dharmasha, trayataya mahatovaya. There's no loss of diminution. Whatever you do spiritually, you get to take that with you to the next life. It's your eternal spiritual benefit, eternal spiritual bank account. After ending this body, these things will not help us. We'll carry my work with us, and according to that work, we shall have to accept by force another type of body. It may be something other than a human body, so these things cannot protect us or give us real spiritual pleasure. So this is what I was referring to. This is from my book, You're Not the Body, these pictures. My accomplishments, material credits, rich family, PhD, own home. And then some nice person comes and visits him. And then next life, the guy is drinking something called cerveza. I won't tell you what cerveza is. And kid's hungry. Your turn. So you never know where you're going to end up. But being maddened with false prestige and identification with the body, one is thinking, oh, what is Nityananda? What can he do for me? I don't care. So you may be thinking like that. But if you approach Lord Nityananda, everything you have, possessions you have, it all becomes useful at that time. Like Prabhupada gave the example that sometimes you have a lot of zeros. You could have 1 million zeros, and what does that amount to? Does anyone know? 0. 1 billion zeros, quadrillion zeros, infinitesimal, infinite zeros. It's all 0. But what happens when you put a 1 in front of it? It's valuable. Not only does it increase, it has some value. You have 100 zeros, put a 1 in front of you, you're fixed for life. What's your bank balance? 0. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So we just add that Krishna, and all these things, we're not decrying any of these things, criticizing any of these things. We love it when someone gets educated. I love it when someone, has a nice house, nice facility and everything, or a nice car. But if you use them for the right purpose, that's all. Next. All right. So we accept something false to be the truth in this material world. So accepting something false doesn't mean that this table, this chair, doesn't exist. It means it's temporary. We accept something that is temporary as very important. Now that is illusion. And Krishna the Gita, famous verse, Nasato vijate bhavo nabhavo vijate sataha ubhyarapi drishto antas tvanios tadvadarshadihi. That the sages consider those things which have a beginning and an end to be in one sense unreal. They exist, but they don't continue to exist more than a specified period of time. So one should remember that. So that's, if you accept this is the ultimate truth, or the chair is the ultimate truth, or your identification, which is called your body, that I am American, I am a male, female, I am white or black or whatever, that's an upadi, that's a temporary, it's not true. You are not that. Like Prabhupada sometimes would be speaking to very young people, and he would say to them, to try to get them to understand the philosophy, point to yourself. Point to yourself, not just the body, but point to the part of you that's yourself. Are you the hand? Are you the neck? Are you the eyes? Are you the head? No. You can't. You're the soul within the body. So that's eternal. So Maya or illusion means to accept the non-eternal things as important. We use them for the proper purposes. That is, but Nityananda is so glorious, for when he is merciful toward us, then we will be able to approach Radha Krishna. So it's not that prematurely one has to become detached from this world. We're not asking that. It happens naturally by coming in touch with this spiritual energy. And that natural experience is called a higher taste in the Bhagavad Gita. Raso Bharjam Rasyo Vyasa Param Dristani Vartate. When you're having so much fun, you forget about everything else. That's really what happens. And it's gradual. That's all you have to do. If one is actually serious about going back to home, back to Godhead, then firmly grasp the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. As I mentioned before, that means simply engaging in hearing, chanting, dancing, taking prasadam. Very simple. It's not complicated. In other ages, you had to engage in harsh austerities. You had to meditate, you sit in one position for God knows how many years. But in this age, very simple. No austerities. Easy to do, no austerities. Chant Hare Krishna and be free. So one may think that since shelters in this material world later on prove false, similarly the lotus feet of Nityananda may also prove false, but the lotus feet of Nityananda are not illusion, they are a fact. So you may think, yeah, what if I spend all my time doing this and energy? You know, I know you convinced me that everything in this world is false, but what if this is false also? So there, it's not. And another thing I wanted to mention is that for those of you who are not familiar from the Western culture, that we talk about feet all the time. So sometimes lotus feet, taking shelter of the lotus feet, may appear a little unusual. The reason for that is it indicates service. Not that we have some sort of feet fetish. It indicates service and humility. So this can be taken figuratively. So, next time. And anyone who takes to the service of Nityananda, they also become eternal. Of course, we're already eternal, but we realize our eternal nature. Without being eternal, nobody can serve the eternal. If you catch the lotus feet of Nityananda, what's he doing there? Maybe close the door so I don't hear the conversations that are going on. If you catch the lotus feet of Nityananda, then you become immediately spiritualized. Just like if you touch electricity, immediately you become electrified. Nityananda is eternal happiness. If you touch Nityananda some way or other, then you become also eternally happy. My dear Lord, I am very unhappy, so you please make me happy. My dear Lord, please keep me close to your lotus feet. So how to achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur talked about a marketplace of the holy name. Let me turn that down a little bit. And so in this marketplace, it's described that Lord Nityananda is the chief proprietor and chief. And he's selling, what is he selling? The pure, unadulterated, holy name, wholesale. In other words, you don't really have to pay anything. Simply, one has to take up the process. And even if one doesn't have faith in the beginning, if one takes up the process of chanting, then it acts. There's no necessity in the beginning of having that faith. Of course, later on, that's a necessity to achieve spiritual perfection. But in the beginning, it's like fire. If you touch it, you get burnt. Of course, it's not a negative touch in this particular case. If you come in contact with Krishna's holy name, even what's called namavash chanting, which means chanting inadvertently, jokingly, derisively, meaning something else, still one gets spiritual advancement and ultimately will come to the stage of chanting purely. The very second that Lord Nityananda sees a tear welling up in someone's eyes upon chanting of the name Gora, that's Lord Chaitanya's name, he instantly gives his support to that person. Indeed, he bestows all divine opulences upon him. That's all you have to do. I mean, not crocodile tears, imitation tears, acting tears, but just have to immerse yourself into the chanting. And if a tear comes to your eye, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda. You get all divine opulences bestowed upon you. Wow. That's pretty inexpensive. When offenses are vanquished, one will obtain the treasure of love of God. But in these names of Chaitanya and Nitai, there's no consideration of offenses. Once one has a taste for the holy name of Krishna, bondage to this world will come to an end. So, therefore, Srila Prabhupada has instructed us before chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we chant Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda. You don't have to chant between each round. Some devotees do that. But at least when you start chanting or when you're having kirtan, it's a necessity because there's no offenses in chanting the names of Nitai Gaur. Whereas with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we have these different rules and regulations, such as the 10 offenses. But with the chanting of Nitai Gaur, there's no fast rules, no hard and fast rules. When there's attachment to the holy name of Krishna, then very easily the life of the living being becomes successful. At the end of life, one will attain the beautiful vision of Radha and Shyam in Vrindavan. The most merciful Lord Nityananda never gives the holy, most merciful Lord Nityananda gives the holy name to anyone. He never cares, at least for one's position and relation, to caste, material wealth, mundane knowledge, or physical ability. Now, there's a very interesting example in Lord Nityananda's pastimes that when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back to Jagannath Puri after his tour of South India, and he saw Lord Nityananda there in Jagannath Puri. Lord Nityananda had maintained all the devotees during that particular time. He said to Lord Nityananda, I have left Bengal. And because I have left Bengal, there is no one there to carry out the mission of the holy name. So you should go to Bengal and reside there. And in fact, Lord Chaitanya told him, don't come back here to Jagannath Puri, although Lord Nityananda did anyway. Just stay there. So Lord Nityananda went there, and the first village he went to, I think it was called Saptagram, it was the most degraded place in Bengal, with dacoits and gundas. For those of you who don't know what dacoits are, they're thieves, rascals, whatever you may call them. Gundas, it's the same thing. People murdered, and just the lowest class of people. And he turned this place into basically a spiritual world by going there. And Lord Nityananda, previously, he was like an avadut. Avadut means like the wind that following, just basically so absorbed in Krishna consciousness that he didn't even notice that there was anything going on in the external world. I mean, sometimes he would be chanting so enthusiastically, he'd take his garments that were meant for the lower portion of the body and put them on his head. Out of pure love of Krishna. But when he went to Bengal, he actually got married, and two girls. His father's name was Sarakala, and Janava and Ganga, and he had two children. Actually, no, Vasudeva and Ganga Devi, and Vasudeva and Janava. Sorry, Vasudeva and Janava, and his two children were Ganga and Virabhadra. The two children, and Virabhadra was also considered an incarnation of Lord Nityananda, Balaram. And this Virabhadra, he became a spiritual master, and Lord Nityananda's wife Janava became a spiritual master. So sometimes there's some question now whether ladies can become spiritual masters. But in our heritage, we have so many ladies who became spiritual masters and taught Krishna consciousness to others. Janava initiated a lot of devotees, and many great Vaishnavas such as Narottama Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, and Shaimananda took shelter of her. They didn't take initiation, but they took shelter of her. So Lord Nityananda doesn't care. Dina hina yata chilo harinamudurila. And therefore, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Kiva Vipra, Kiva Myashi Shudakena Nayed Krishna Tattvaveta, say Guru Hoy. Even someone can become Guru, and it doesn't matter whether they're born in a educated family or uneducated family, or they're sannyasis, or they're householders. It doesn't matter as long as they know the science of Krishna. So this is Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya's great mercy. So, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Lord Nityananda Ki Jai. So, because it's already, wow, 5:51, we're going to have our kirtan chanting. Whoops, there's Lord Nityananda. Okay, so we're going to have the kirtan and with the guitar, and we're going to chant Nitai Padakamalam, and we're going to, hopefully, devotees can dance during this chanting too, so we'll see. Let me just get this set up. Okay. Whoops. Let me take that out. All right. Okay. Could you give me the guitar? Since this is Lord Nityananda's appearance, we can be more liberal than we normally are. We can play guitar. Okay. We play the drum. No cartel. It's good. It's good. Hare Okay, you want to make an announcement, or did you make the announcement? Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. With the way the kirtans are going, my heart just says, let's have more kirtan. We are now going to do the Abhishek of Gaur Nitai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. So the Abhishek is going to be right in front of the altar. And if I may request everybody, if you could please make 2 lines. Could make 2 lines. So one would be